Happy Kids TV.
The Holy Tales.
Olivia was a young girl who lived with her mother, father, and her little younger brother. One day, Olivia's mother called for her.
Olivia? Please go and get some nice apples from the orchard. I am thinking of making some apple stew for your brother.
Olivia loved going to the orchard, so she went. Olivia entered the orchard and looked at the beautiful apple trees filled with succulent red apples. She walked through the orchard with a basket and stopped under an apple tree. She looked up and saw the apples in this tree did not look very pleasing. They were dark in color, not very big. Some even had dark spots on them as if they were smashed. Some were pecked on by birds.
These apples do not look nice at all. Let me go and check another tree.
So she ignored the first tree and walked right ahead. Then she stopped under another tree which had bright red shiny apples. They were smooth and looked very pretty.
Wow! These apples are so much better than the ones I saw earlier. I am going to take apples from here.
Olivia picked out the apples which she thought were the best ones, the big and round and the shiny ones. She couldn't wait to take them back home and eat them. With a basket full of apples, happily she went home.
Look, Mom, I've got such nice-looking apples.
Her mother looked at the apples but did not say anything. She got a knife from the kitchen and cut one apple. To Olivia's surprise, the apple was rotten to the core.
How could this happen? They are such nice-looking apples. How can they be rotten from within?
Olivia's mother took another apple and cut it open. This too was rotten, just like the other one. Olivia was very disappointed. Her mother picked her up on her lap and said,
Olivia, let me tell you one thing. There are some things which look very nice and beautiful from outside, but that's only skin deep. Their goodness does not lie from within. The apples you thought were rotten from outside were probably the ones which were fresh and nice from inside. So you've got to learn to recognize something or someone's goodness from inside.
So what is the moral of the story?
That we should never judge a book by its cover.
And that God wants us to go deeper inside to understand someone's goodness. And God does not want us to judge someone superficially.
Excellent! Very well done, children.
Yay! That was such a nice story.
The Holy Tales.
Let me tell you the story of Emily. There lived a young girl called Carol. She was 6 years old and a very popular girl in school. She was friendly and sweet, and everyone wanted to be friends with her. One day, a new girl called Emily came into Carol's class. She was a quiet and shy little girl. She went and sat all by herself in the last row. Carol, who was sitting in the front row, turned back at Emily and smiled to make her feel comfortable. Emily smiled back at her, a little hesitant. The teacher entered the class and began teaching. Soon, the bell rang and it was lunch break. All the children got up and ran out into the garden to play, except Emily. Carol was about to leave the classroom and she looked back and saw Emily sitting all alone, looking out of the window. Carol went up to her and said,
Hey, why don't you come and join us? It's fun during the breaks. We all play together. Come.
Emily didn't know if she really wanted to go out and play with the others. She was feeling very shy in her new school. But Carol would not leave her alone. She pulled Emily by her hand and ran out of the classroom. She took her out into the garden and brought her to her other friends.
Look, we have a new friend. Everyone, meet Emily. Emily, these are my friends.
Emily smiled shyly. There was one boy in the group who did not smile back at Emily. He said,
No, I'm not going to play with her. I am not playing if she's playing with us.
Saying this, he stomped off. Emily started crying and she ran away from everyone. Carol was angry with Tim for his rude behavior. So she made a plan and discussed it with her other friends. Next day, after class, Carol went out to play with her friends. They took Emily with them too. But this time, they did not take Tim along with them. Tim sat all by himself and watched everyone playing together and having fun. He felt really bad. He thought to himself,
That's okay. They'll want me to play with them tomorrow.
The next day, the same thing happened. Emily, Carol, and all of their other friends were playing together, this time too without Tim. Tim was very angry with Carol for leaving him out. He walked up to all of them and said,
How can you all start playing without me?
Now, do you realize how Emily must have felt when you chose not to play with her?
Tim realized his fault. He apologized to Emily and they all started playing together happily. So, it is never a good feeling if people don't choose you. We should always love everyone the same way.
I am sorry, Gumbo. I didn't want to hurt you. You can take mine for now. And I promise to get you another one the next time. Take mine, Gumbo. We're really very sorry. Take both the lollipops.
That was a nice moral story.
The Holy Tales.
Let me tell you a story which might help you to understand better. Long time ago, there was a little girl named Mila. One day, she went to a farm with her father and got lost in the woods on the farm. But Mila was not afraid. She sat down on her knees, folded her hands, and she started praying. Suddenly, she saw a friendly man coming towards her. He was the farmer who owned the land. He found the little girl sitting and praying. He came over to her and said,
My child, are you lost?
Yes.
The farmer was very shocked to see Mila not scared at all, even though she was lost in the woods.
But aren't you scared?
No, sir. I knew you would come. I was, in fact, waiting for you.
The farmer was surprised. How did this little girl know he would come and help her go back home?
Waiting for me? What made you think I was coming?
I was praying that you would.
You were praying? But all I heard you saying was the 26 alphabets. What was that for?
Mila looked up at him and said,
I was not sure exactly what to say. So I was praying all the letters of the alphabet and letting God put them together the way He wanted them. He knew and understood that I was lost and I needed help. So He put the letters together better than I could do.
The farmer was amazed to see the amount of faith this little girl had in God. Even though she couldn't see God, she had faith that He loved her and truly cared for her. She knew God would help her. So, when we have faith in God, it isn't about how big or small our faith is. It is all about how powerful our God is and that nothing is impossible for God. Did this help you children understand the meaning of faith better?
Yes, it did. It's like we have faith in you that you will tell us a story every time we visit you. Ha ha!
Well, it's something like that. Hope you enjoyed the story, children.
Oh, yes. It was amazing. Thank you, Holy, for explaining to us the meaning of faith.
I am glad you enjoyed the story. Until next time, bye-bye.
To watch more videos, please subscribe.
Plants and trees. On the fourth day, God created the sun to shine in the day, the moon and stars to come out at night. One day, Moses went to Mount Horeb with his sheep. There, God appeared to him as a flame of fire in a bush. Since there was no room anywhere else, they decided to spend the night in a stable. Here, Mary had her baby, Jesus. She wrapped him in a blanket and put him to sleep.
He's got the whole